I talk about random bullshit and things of that nature. And today we're doing a scientific study. We're going to go through all the best rage bait methods that we've seen on this planet. And we're going to come together to pick out the best way to rage bait the fuck out of somebody. And as a professional rage baiter, damn, that sounded way too much like masturbator. We will take the time to pick out the top tier methods. And because I don't feel like wasting any more time, we're going to get into the first one of making somebody define a word for no reason. This method goes in the category of interruption rage bait, where you just try to stop their point in any way possible. In this method, anytime a motherfucker says a big word, just make them define it. If I sit there and look at somebody and say, hey, what the fuck does that word mean? And they take the time to actually define that word, they pissed either way. But the thing that makes this method weak as hell is the fact that once they define it, you're on to the conversation still. And if you go against somebody that doesn't have anger issues, it kind of doesn't work that well. Like an example would be if somebody said, oh, I would like my politicians to be articulate. And you say, define articulate. You could just keep going. That is a way to keep the rage bait going, but it just makes you look stupid. So technically, that's not even a good one to use. Honestly, I don't see this being at the top of our rankings at all. But again, this is a scientific study. We're going to find out shit as we go. And the next one we got is directly attached to the other one of repeating what they said in a funny ass voice. This is a classic method. If you don't got this shit down, brother, I don't know what to tell you. Very simple situation of somebody sitting there and saying some nerdy ass shit of like, why there's so many people sipping over Luna Snow, that you directly say, why are so many people sipping over? Again, it makes you sound dumb as hell. And on top of it is one of those rage bait methods that will always be funny and you will find a way to get out of it. Now, me personally, I think if you use the very generic nerd voice, I don't think it does the job as well because I think it's too predictable. That's why I did that dumbass voice that you probably never heard before. Almost nerdy, but not exactly nerdy enough to call it a nerd voice. You always have to be off center just a little bit when you're trying to rage bait because you can't make it obvious. I just used this one recently as somebody that actually was complaining about getting no hoes. And instead of being a good person and actually sitting there and trying to figure out the issue, I just decided to clown their ass because I didn't like them. And he legit verbatim said, why don't girls like guys that play video games? And I said, why don't girls like guys that play video games? Shut your stupid ass up. And he almost punched the shit out of me. But he didn't because he was too embarrassed to actually pick up his fist. But that's what makes this rage bait perfect and why it's one of my favorites. Because if you react to somebody saying exactly what you said in a funny voice with violence, you are soft as Sherman, my brother. You got to get your shit together and you got to calm yourself the fuck down and make some better points. But after that one, we have the good boy method. Oh man, I do think the good boy method will always be unpatched and it will always be a top tier way of rage baiting. And personally, it is something that's got me before. Genuinely, one of my best friends used to do this shit all the time and thankfully he's calmed down. But actually listening to somebody has never been worse in the history of civilization. I'm talking, it could be the simplest thing. Hey, Brody, get on the game. You'd be like, all right, bet. And they say, good boy. Now I actually want to slam this PS5 through your fucking skull. But I would be ODing because all they said was good boy. But for some reason, that shit is undefeated. Now, personally, I haven't used this one outside of my friends because I do think these are fighting words. I genuinely do believe if somebody that I never met before did this shit to me, I think I would think about it. But because I'm a peaceful person overall, I would, tell them to slow the fuck down. But I don't know if I'll beat the fuck out of them. I think, I don't know. I think you're gonna have to use some stronger rage bait than that. But the good boy method is definitely up there. It's the one that never makes you look stupid. It's funny. It's always on timing. And you can always pull that bitch out of your pocket. It's versatile. It works in many different situations. Go ahead and put it up there number one for now. I anticipate by the end that it will be somewhere near there. I don't know because I don't know the rest of this list. No, I do. Next we got is the smiling and laughing mid-sentence method. Ooh, this one I have actually gotten punched for twice in my life. And the first one was in a conversation with a fat nigga over pizza. And the second one was talking about LeBron. Now, the first conversation was about us talking about the best pizza on the market. Fat nigga number one said Domino's. So then fat nigga number two said Papa John's. And then fat nigga number one started explaining himself. And I was laughing mid-sentence because this wasn't a serious conversation. Personally, I don't find pizza to be a serious enough conversation to punch people over. But he did. Because he said, what the fuck you laughing for? What do you think? And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, Pizza Hut kind of hit. Now, I was wilding for that. I can admit that's a dumbass opinion, but I wasn't finna let this dumbass opinion make me look stupid. So his fat ass start talking about they got better wings and they got sauce. How the fuck am I not supposed to laugh in this situation? How am I wrong? I start laughing and his bitch ass did a Superman punch over the table and landed on the other side of the table and started whooping my ass over pizza, and I wasn't even the original motherfucker we was talking to. But that's how strong laughing mid-sentence is. Like this second time we was talking about LeBron, I came around to be a very big LeBron supporter. But back when I was in like 7th, 8th grade, I wasn't. And this was about the year before Bron went back to Cleveland. So we're having this conversation and dude was trying to explain why LeBron losing in 2011 wasn't that crazy. And for anybody who doesn't know, 2011 is the only year where LeBron actually underperformed in the finals. So I'm sitting there and saying, okay, cool, explain yourself. And this motherfucker starts stuttering. But it wasn't a regular stutter for real. It was one of the like the real stutters. Like them type of stutters that actually be funny as hell. And I laughed. And the thing is, he kept going with his point and I kept smiling and laughing. So then he just stopped mid-sentence and punched the shit out of me. Now, thankfully in that fight, I was more or less in my weight class, so I actually fought back this time. But I had this man blood boiling over another grown man. Now, the other grown man is LeBron James. So it's completely valid in any way possible. And I'm not even a LeBron glazer. That's just law. So as I'm looking at it right now, the smiling and laughing method, it gets a quick reaction, it works well, and it somehow always ends up in violence. Now, the thing is, this is an in-person rage bait method because everybody does this shit online. Every time somebody gets in an argument online, they always put LOL in the beginning of it to act like they're actually laughing, but instead they're really mad as shit as they're typing. If they say ha ha ha, they're not even remotely laughing. Genuinely, there's no chance you put ha 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 and then a full ass paragraph and you was genuinely laughing to start that. That's never the goddamn case. LOL, maybe. Emojis, maybe. Ha ha, no, you're not 35. And if you are 35, I guess I gotta change up the standards a little bit. Like ha 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 is like, what do you put under like a bad bitch TikTok when she tries to be funny? You use that shit out of necessity, not because you actually laughing. You use that shit out of necessity, not because you actually laughing. But let's get into the next one. Did I say yes? Where the fuck did that come from? I am from the DMV, everybody, if anybody doesn't know. But I'm not from Baltimore, so I don't know where that came from. Okay. And the next one we got is the constantly interrupting method. Interrupting somebody during a very passionate point brings a very visceral reaction out of anybody. Genuinely, nobody's immune to being constantly cut the fuck off. You will always get mad. And this one particularly works better if you're not interrupting with your point. The reason why I call this the Charlie Kirk method is because you say random words in there. So if they can't interpret what you said, but they heard you said something. Like if somebody's making the point that Danny Avia is Netanyahu's son, right? And they start talking, you say, huh? How? Huh? When? Shit like that. It goes perfectly with the first one we talk about of making somebody define something. Because if somebody fucks around and says a word that they clearly found on the SAT prep guide, then you can sit there and say, huh? Define that? Say that again? What? Huh? What does that mean? It's like, yeah, that's not how you use that word. It's a method that has been patched as of recently that if you are the person constantly interrupting, it always makes you look like you're trying to stop the other person's point. Again, I would say over the past 2 years, it has been heavily patched, but it still works well if you throw little sentences in there and little statements. Don't try to go into a full point because it makes you look awful. Again, not the greatest one for your own reputation, but it is something that will always get a reaction out of somebody. So honestly, good one. And the last one we will be going over in this video is a get a load of this guy method. Now, this is clearly a group rage bait method. You do this one-on-one, you look like a psychopath. Actually, the word might be sociopath, if I get that right. I might be wrong either way. But you use this in a group, it is very effective. Now, if somebody's making a point that genuinely makes no sense, this shit hits like crack in Michael Irvin's pocket. Now, the phrase of choice that I was using when I was a child was, fuck is this nigga talking about? Now, I did also say, get a load of this guy one time, and it actually kind of hit. But looking to the side, it kind of has the same effect as breaking the fourth wall. So it can work. There is a way that it works, but the timing has to be right. Now, if they're making a good point, it still kind of works because if you go over to somebody and say, what the fuck is this dude talking about? They're not going to respond with, he's actually making a pretty decent point right now. Nobody responds like that. No actual normal human responds like that. So in all likelihood, they're gonna let that sentence ride / flow in the air until it gets to him and it pisses him the fuck off. But the fuck is he talking about? The get a load of this guy method does work properly if you have the understanding of the method down. But after discussing the different ways of rage bait, there are definitely more that I didn't discuss in this video. But we don't have all day to talk about this shit. So the best one we have in this video is between the good boy method and the constantly laughing. And after some time of thinking about it and thinking about what is the best way to truly get a reaction reaction out of somebody, we will pick the smiling and laughing method. Those examples I gave were real life examples, and those weren't even the only ones. I've seen this constantly throughout my life, and it has never failed at any point. It genuinely cannot fail. Laughing at a serious point is fucking amazing, and it somehow turned a conversation about pizza into a brawl. That is beautiful rage bait. So I gotta go ahead and crown it as the best method of rage bait until we do more research and discover more. But that will be the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know if y'all want these style of videos on this page, and if not, just be nice, okay, if you can. But with that being said, peace.